education, and donations. But how do you convince people to follow your mission, provide their support? How do you break donation records? How do you share your message and get the funds you need to accomplish your mission? It's easier than you think, because you and everyone else already hold the answer. Tatango lets you reach your audience directly, helping you get results. No matter the size of your campaign or organization, rally your supporters, or even just send a casual hello. Tatango integrates seamlessly with all major donation platforms. And with a robust API and a team of fundraising experts, we'll help you use your existing list of supporters who have opted in to receive your messages wherever that list is stored. So you can continue to build relationships with people who specifically care about your cause. We handle your short code setup. We make sure you're compliant with all major carriers. And we provide the resources and inspiration you need to confidently send campaigns that connect with your audience. We've proven time and time again we deliver the biggest return on investment. We show you the donations received from each SMS message, letting you focus on your most engaged supporters while trying to maximize your fundraising. At Tatango, we empower nonprofits to achieve their fundraising goals. Discover the preferred text messaging solution for leading nonprofits. Start your journey and see how Tatango can further your mission.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Impact Stage. You've just learned a little bit about Tatango, and you might not be surprised to know we're going to hear from them in this upcoming session. So I really want to quickly, if you missed some of the video or if you'd like to learn more about Tatango, you should know you are with the leading text fundraising platform built exclusively for nonprofits. Nonprofits have raised more than $600 million with Tatango by turning text messaging into a trusted channel for donor engagement and giving. They have 99% open rates, permission-based messaging, AI-driven personalization, donation optimization. Tatango has all of this and can help you maximize your fundraising results and build lasting donor relationships. So get started with text fundraising, book a demo of Tatango to see why it's the #1 texting platform for nonprofit fundraising. Incredible. Well, I am so thrilled to get to introduce our speakers from Tatango who are going to talk about how we can personalize and build human connection even in the age of AI. So without further ado, Mike, I'm going to kick it off to you. Mike Snusz, we're so lucky to have you. Thank you for being with us. Take it away.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining, and it's such a nice welcome to see joining here, and I see somebody from my hometown of Buffalo, New York. So Matt, welcome. Thank you for attending this session. Kelly, thanks for coming in from Indianapolis. And if you want to place where you're from in the chat window here, we're going to get started here. So thanks so much for joining. I've been in the nonprofit space for 22 years now as a fundraiser, as a consultant, and the last 3 years on the customer success team at Tatango, helping nonprofits with their text messages to raise money, retain donors, and engage their supporters. And really excited to be with you here today. Looks like we have some folks from Tennessee and Kansas City and from all over. So thank you so much for joining, and let's jump in. Session is Trust by Design, Personalization and Human Connection in the Age of AI. So I hope you've been enjoying the conference so far, and you've probably heard some of these themes come up and have a little bit of an idea of why this conversation matters. But it's because even though we are using AI and your donors know about AI, and if you listened to Nathan's opening remarks yesterday and saw the report that was released, certainly your donors know that AI is out there, and so many of us are using it now, so much more than we were 6 months ago, 12 months ago. But like fundraising has been over time, donors still expect your communications and your appeals and your newsletters and those to be authentic in the communications and the personalization that you're using. And when you misuse AI, certainly you risk damaging those relationships that you've built. We saw one of the concerns that Nathan talked about in the report that was released. The top concern that donors have in using AI is that you're going to be asking for money using AI. Your fundraising appeals are going to be based on or written by AI. And so there's always been a risk when you communicate with your donors, if you don't have the most up-to-date information, if that information is inaccurate, that it could damage trust, it could hurt the relationship, it could alienate donors. But now with AI on top of that, and this comes at a time where nonprofits certainly have more perhaps mistrust that in nonprofits than they have previously, that they're a little bit suspicious, unfortunately, of charity organizations. And so that just amplifies what risks have always been there in terms of communicating in the wrong way, inaccurately, using AI and feeling like they're being talked to via AI, but also just not feeling like they can trust the organization. But on the other side of it, AI, there's an opportunity that we can strengthen human connection when AI is used in a way that helps us to optimize our work, to create time, to save on some of the tasks that we do, and to put information in front of us that perhaps we wouldn't be able to condense and take all that information and be able to consolidate it and be able to use it in a way that helps to create that meaningful connection. When somebody reaches out, for example, via a text message and they're chatting with us, if you have the ability to use information that you have about that person to not only answer their question and connect with them, but also maybe if they gave a donation a month ago, to say, Mark, thanks so much for your donation last month. We truly appreciate it. And so there's certainly ways that AI and data can be used to strengthen the human connection that hasn't been available previously. So trust is critical. We've known that in fundraising. It is important that your donors are going to expect that you're going to be aware of who they are and how they've been involved and what they've done with your organization. They certainly want you to feel authentic in your communication and through, even though AI is out there, to respect their privacy, and through channels like text messaging and other places to respect their consent and how they want to be communicated to and how they've given you feedback for what is acceptable to them and what is not. And we know the cost of that when donors don't feel like that has been respected, their privacy, consent, that nonprofits are being authentic, that there's a broken trust, that can certainly lead to less loyal supporters, less involvement coming out to events, volunteering, and ultimately supporting your organization. So I'm going to give you a framework during today's session about how you can evaluate any AI that you're looking at in terms of your nonprofit, and is it good for your supporters, and is it good for the human connection? So when we look at AI with fundraising, there's promise and risks, and certainly I'll show you some ways that nonprofits are making their jobs more efficient. But this doesn't have to be about being savvy in AI or being savvy in tech. If you're here and you've just started to really use AI over the last few months or the last 6 months, it's finding small wins that will make the day-to-day work that you do more efficient, to make the communications that you send to your donors more relevant, to optimize your communications. I used to be somebody, when I would look at different email campaigns or appeals or even text messages, I love to sort of eyeball the content and say, well, this message did really well. And was it because of the image, or was it because we had the call to action here, or was it because of the approach or the match? And I years ago, I used to love the sort of the coming up with ideas of why this piece of communication did better, or this appeal did better than others. With AI now, we have that, where it can take a look at all of these different factors, and it can give you information on perhaps why one appeal did better than the other. So certainly there's ways that it can be optimized, and that is the positive side of it. The risks is that you have generic sort of one size fits all communications, but that's always been one of the risks within fundraising, within the nonprofit industry. There's a risk of getting too much information. So perhaps over targeting your segments and who you're going to communicate to, whether it's via direct mail, email, text message. Working at a nonprofit, I know, and talking to customers, there's not enough time in the day. Most nonprofit professionals don't have enough hours in the day to be able to use information and to get their job done. And when you have different segments, when you're able to create 15 or 20 or 25 segments, simply nonprofits are not going to be able to use that many segments to create different versions of their communications. So really 3 to 5, maybe different audiences that you can target by is probably the max that most nonprofits can do when they're sending out a communication and looking to have relevant information in those communication. And also a risk is limited data. So if you're feeding into AI data that is not complete, maybe it just has click-throughs or opt-outs, but it doesn't have that somebody made a gift in the last month or 2 months, or it doesn't have donation data, or it doesn't have replies and what they've said back and forth to you. And for example, your text messages, if you're basing AI off of limited data, then it's going to be difficult to have relevant conversations that build that human connection. So how do we gain these benefits? Being more efficient, optimizing communications, sending more relevant communications, but also keep the human connection. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about SMS, text messaging as proof, as a channel, because text messaging is so personal and it is so immediate. Almost all text messages get opened. Most of them get opened within a few minutes of being received. So it is a very intimate, personal channel. It's permission based. So you cannot text people at scale without their permission. It's universally accessed. So it is a channel that is a good use case to look at. How do we build the human connection and respect the consent that people have given to be able to text us, but also respect that it is an immediate way to get in front of them? And how do we respect their time and the channel that they're going to get your message and likely open it within a few minutes? How do we have authentic communications that build the relationship within text messaging? So a couple examples that come to mind within looking at this. When we look at ways that we can text message and have AI be helpful in our segmentation, in how we create the messages, it can take a look at different segments that previously weren't possible. When we look at texting and behaviors like, did somebody click through a text message? What is their giving history? What is the recency that they have clicked or made a gift? And what is the feedback that they've given us? When somebody receives a text message from your nonprofit, there's replies, there's thumbs up, there's feedback that they give to you. So consolidating all of that information into segments that you can use to then be able to optimize your communication, that can take a lot of time and effort to do if you're not using an AI tool to do it. In terms of optimizing your timing for outreach, being able to take what has worked, what hasn't worked, and then having your messages feel relevant and not robotic. So looking at some of the ways that AI can look to take all of that information and then segment into different audiences that feel connected. This is an example of AI taking who we've texted before and looking at their donor history, looking at their click-throughs, looking at what they've indicated previously, and give us positive feedback on champions, on highly engaged folks. I'm going to bring in Ken too. Ken, can you talk a little bit from our team? Ken is our product manager that's going to talk a little bit about how these different AI-powered segments are created, what they're based on, so you can have a little bit of better idea of how AI is used behind the scenes.
Sure. Yeah. So behind the scenes, we're taking everything we know about the engagement of your supporters and with text messaging, and we're looking at, are they replying? Have they opted out or opted out and opted back in again? Have they clicked? Have they gone through and made a donation? And so on and so forth. And we take all that information and we calculate a score behind the scenes, and then we use that and translate that into one of these four segments that you can then easily in our segmentation tool just say like, hey, I want to reach out to my highly engaged, my champions, or conversely, maybe I want to target a very specific campaign around lapsed or people who are on the borderline of kind of fading away from the organization and re-engaging them. So just kind of using that data behind the scenes to do a lot of the work that used to take a lot of teams and a lot of maybe even data scientists to like crunch those numbers for you, make it a lot more accessible for you in the product without much lift.
Thanks, Ken. And so a couple examples that come to mind of how nonprofits have used this sort of information where you're looking at, has somebody clicked? Have they made a positive reply? Have they donated recently? So one campaign comes to mind where organization was looking to send to their active and engaged supporters and be able to ask them to become a monthly donor. And typically previously, that might be based on if somebody made a one-time gift or they're making multiple gifts in a certain time period. But they looked at what were all the factors of, did they click through text messages? Did they make a gift? Had they had positive replies? and they just targeted the champions group, and they targeted people who were focused on engaging with their text messages and they had given previously. And so they sent that out to an audience of their highly engaged text message subscribers, and they had a great response converting them to become monthly donors. Another organization that they had their segments that they would typically send to their text messages, and they were based on things like when had somebody last given, what year had they given in, and they had all these different typical historical donor groups that nonprofits use. But they added a small piece onto that of people who were active and engaged with their text messages. And it was a tiny percentage that they added on to the overall text messaging send. But the result was that that tiny percentage of active, engaged people ended up raising a third of the money in that text messaging campaign. So these sort of segments wouldn't be possible previously. You would have to export reports. You would have to crunch the numbers. You would have to say, let's see who's clicked. Let's see who's donated. Let's go through all of our replies and see if they're positive, people who've given us a thumbs up, people who had nice words for us in their replies. And then let's combine that in, let's bring that in, and let's target those folks with their text messages. But AI can take all that data and then consolidate that for you and give you, here are some key audiences that you should think about texting and that we think are going to be successful because they're highly engaged, they've given you positive feedback, and they've given at some point recently. So these sort of advanced segments that AI can produce, I think, is a way to make sure you're getting back in front of those people who are most active and to build those relationships and give them opportunities to engage and opportunities to give. AI also, I mentioned a little bit earlier that I love to look at previous messages and sort of figure out, well, was it because of this image? Was it because this was bolded? And now AI can do that. AI can take the top performing messages that nonprofits have sent. And so in our platform, we have the ability to take the top performing top 5 messages that a nonprofit has sent and use that to suggest content for future text messages that you're going to send out. So taking when you're going to send maybe perhaps a Giving Tuesday appeal or a different message and asking AI, hey, what would work based on what you've seen have been some of our top performing messages, and giving you a suggestion where AI has looked back at some of the content and some of the pieces and gives you suggestions based on that. So when you have trust, that really helps to respect those preferences and build loyalty within your donors, which ultimately can lead to higher engagement, higher ROI. And then that trust can fuel long-term relationships that you have with your donors and build them and build that human connection. And so the framework that I talked to you a little bit about at the beginning that I want to give to you, I found this helpful as you're looking at using an AI tool or AI in general. 3 simple questions and keeping your donors and the relationships you have in mind with them. Is it going to enhance the trust of those donors? Is it going to protect the consent that they have given you to receive types of messages and the data that you have from that person? And ultimately, will it strengthen human communication? So a couple examples of this using those 3 pieces. I mentioned earlier, when your nonprofit text to your donors, to your supporters, there's going to be some replies that you get to those text messages. A lot of them are just going to be thumbs up or replies that aren't actionable. They may be that they're just driving or something not intended for you, but maybe about 10 to 20% of those replies will be actionable. And depending on the size of your list, you may receive hundreds of replies to a text message. And if I'm a nonprofit professional and I have 5 or 10 minutes to go in after a text and check for the most important replies, AI can help go through those hundreds of replies and put at the forefront which replies are most important to help build the human connection. So this is an actual reply from a text message that was sent out by a nonprofit. Somebody said, it would not let me finish adding my credit card info. I'm very careful entering different forms of payment. And if I'm a nonprofit person that has hundreds of text messages, replies, I can use AI to say, show me, are there any replies with donation inquiries? And that would put this text message to the forefront, this reply. And so AI can help prioritize donor inquiries that are timely, because if I can get back to this person, if they're trying to make a donation and they're frustrated and they're unable to make it, if I can get back to them with an answer in a timely fashion, then that helps to build a relationship. It may also help to raise more money for the organization, but I need to do this in a timely manner, not days later. So AI can help to identify that. Another example of a frustrated donor. This is an actual reply that a donor said, I'm about to stop my $30 monthly gift. I don't get cards anymore to show your appreciation. I have a friend that only gives $20 once in a while. AI can help us find any very negative replies out of the hundreds of replies that come in. So it can identify those frustrated donors and opportunities to repair the relationship, like you see here. So this is giving nonprofits back time. If they only have limited time to go through replies, it's making the most of that time that they are using. And AI is helping them to spend that time smartly. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ken to just take us through a little bit about what Tatango has heard from nonprofits. He's had a lot of conversations about their use of AI and what they find is important, what they're concerned about. So I'm going to give Ken a couple of minutes, and then we'll get into some questions here at the end of the session. Ken, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Mike. So yeah, as Mike said, I'm a product manager here at Tatango, and Mike's highlighted a lot of what we've shipped so far this year around AI features. And leading up to shipping those features and after their release, we've heard a lot of feedback from customers. I wanted to share with you a couple key things we learned and heard. Hopes it can help you in your next AI project. So first and foremost, what I heard loud and clear is that teams love being more efficient and more effective at their jobs, and that's pretty obvious. I think we all feel that way. Faster workflows, smarter targeting, tools that help them connect more personally with their subscribers, help reach maybe hidden subscribers who might have been falling between the segmentation cracks. These all resonated immediately because they assisted the staff to help them raise more and waste less. And at Tatango, we design with this in mind. AI should assist, but not replace the human connection. And that mindset has helped us as we approach and explore new features and AI capabilities. We most recently applied this philosophy to Inbox. Mike just recently talked about that. And in Inbox, we have used AI to help cluster those responses in groups. And Mike talked about sentimentality, and also we're grouping by topics. We also group by engagement level with the organization, and all that helps the organization do that first triage, that first prioritization activity a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient. Then we add in new AI capabilities to help them compose faster. So suggested responses and quick link shortening, which is a very common act when you're responding to someone. All this helps them get the response and build it faster, but enables them to have the system not auto-send it on their behalf without review, but have a human actually review it and send the final message. And so that helps them to be efficient while maintaining that human connection. One thing that we've also heard from organizations and around their kind of biggest concerns are around maintaining that authenticity, compliance, that's a big concern, and also anything that directly impacts that constituent and donor experience. Orgs aren't always hard-nosed on those features, but they definitely want to make sure that they approach them with more caution, more thoughtfulness, more rigor around the testing. Excuse me. One example of us applying this design philosophy to one of these types of features that I wanted to highlight is that in the fundraising AI's new study here that came out, the donor perceptions of AI, super interesting. But one of the key things that stood out to me was a third of donors ranked using AI bots portrayed as humans as representing the charity as their like #1 concern, and for the remaining folks, it was like maybe their top 3, and that makes sense. Personal and social connections will continue to have a huge, continue to drive people to support organizations and connect with them. And chatbots don't really do that very well or convey that very well. But as we're thinking about that, we think about like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean no AI chatbots? Well, maybe, depends on the situation, but maybe not. As we were thinking about Inbox, for example, probably bots masquerading as members of staff answering replies is not going to go over very well. However, if the bot was transparent and said, hey, I'm a bot, I'm available when staff can't be, evenings, weekends, holidays, I can try to help you now, or you can wait for a staff member to become available. Well, that comes across very differently. An organization might even get like bonus points for providing a service that other organizations don't. So going back to that same study, donors also said that if the AI is authentic and beneficial to them without losing that human touch, they're generally supportive of it. And so there's potential that could work. So this is just one example, but just emphasizing that we still have a lot to learn, nuances to test, and opportunities to assist staff. And just I want to encourage you as you continue on your AI journey and your next AI project, remember to let AI assist and humans connect, and your supporters will appreciate it and they'll really feel the benefit.
Thanks, Ken. And I know we're just about out of time here, so we do want to invite you to join us in the lounge afterwards. I know we have some questions that we didn't get to. We'd love to answer those. I'll also put my email address up here. Thank you all for joining us, and hopefully you can come to the lounge and we can have additional questions there answered. We'd love to talk more, and we appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks so much for joining us.
Incredible. I don't know if my screen is showing yet. Hi, everybody. Oh, I'm so glad you took the time to join us. Thank you. Huge thank you to Mike and Ken from Tatango. What a very cool way and a very cool channel for us to be, a new way for us to be engaging donors. It's just a really fantastic opportunity right now. Tatango is offering that proof pilot for 60 days, no risk, high rewards. So proof pilot can help show you how texting can turn into your next big fundraising win. So check that out. And as I mentioned, I'll go into some details about the Tatango Lounge in a second. First of all, I want to encourage you to, oh, I need to share some screens. I apologize. Let me get that going. Here we go. There we go. We've got some slides here. This is the QR code. Obviously, we ask for feedback in a couple different places, including on this button here, but a couple opportunities for you to go ahead and let us know what you loved, what you learned, and what you'd love to learn more about. So we can pass that on to Mike and Ken, pass that on to Tatango, and continue to inform and make our summit as impactful as we can. So as I mentioned, Mike and Ken are headed over to the lounge right now, which is called Live Demo Tatango in Action. So all of those great questions that were in the Q&A, highly encourage you to join them in the lounge, get some answers to those questions, and see how Tatango works and could work for you. To get to the lounge, you're probably familiar with this by now, just head back to the reception area, click lounge at the top of the screen, and search for Live Demo Tatango in Action. A quick way to do that is to Control F or Command F, depending on what your platform is, and you can go ahead and find that lounge really quickly. Coming up next, we've got several incredible sessions, as is our want here at Fundraising AI. On the Amplify stage, we'll be navigating the AI era to find trustworthy information with Nadja from Google. On the innovation stage, we're talking about agentic AI and the future of fundraising with Ben Miller and Tanuja Korlepra from Bonterra. And then on this stage, we'll be transitioning very quickly into the technology and future of philanthropy session with Jean Westrix. So hope to see you back here on the Impact stage. If not, check out one of these other great sessions, and we'll see you back here hopefully in a minute.